We'll take the foreplay as read.
I'm glad no one saw that. People might talk.
What the fuck is he on about? Fuck are you on about?
Inconceivable!
It's a free country, don't you know that?
I didn't know it was that free.
Don't make people into heroes.
Fuck you. I can live my own life in my own way if I want to.
My name is Heidi Schilling. You're listening to A Shilling for Your Thoughts, the random topic podcast where I talk about whatever I want with whoever I want. Listener discretion is strongly advised. Today I have two lovely guests with me. I have
Jana Gallo
and
Kara.
Woohoo.
Also Gallo.
Also Gallo. I'm being double Gallo'd today.
Not Weblo yet.
Never. You ever gonna change your name?
I don't know.
We don't know.
Go with the flow. She wanted Weblo, but Andrew didn't like it.
Oh, I think you should go for it. Do the combined name. That's the thing people are doing nowadays.
Yes.
They do. Yep, that's a thing.
I like it. If Cody and I got married, our last name would be Gallic.
It's almost Gaelic. People would just be like, are you pronouncing that wrong? So what are we talking about today, guys?
Work.
Work.
Right? Boo.
We're talking about the weird shit, the funny shit, the terrible shit, the shit. We're talking about work. So, we're talking about past jobs we've had, present jobs. Sometimes we may not say where exactly that job is if we are trying to protect the privacy of all of those involved.
Or
some
not
names,
get sued.
some names may have been changed loosely based on.
Like Smarkin instead of the other one.
I can tell you a hilarious, but maybe not so hilarious story, maybe just funny to me, story that happened to me. It was kind of, we're going to get real personal here. So I was at work, and I was in the bathroom, and I noticed that I had a bleach spot on my underwear. It happens to all of us. But they were black, and they, like, bleach awkward color, and it was bothering me. So I sent one of my best friends a message saying, what is the likelihood that if I fix the bleach spot onto my underwear with a Sharpie, it will come off in my butt crack? And she said, in Arizona, very likely. So I absolutely did it. I was like, I have an industrial Sharpie. Every time I went to the bathroom for the rest of the day, it was like industrial Sharpie smell, and I was like, this is so weird.
Oh God, no one at work
Do not know if it was in my butt crack or not. Cannot confirm.
No one at work is even looking at your underwear.
I was looking at it every time, and it was like this pair that every time I wear it, I'm like, fuck you, you look stupid. So I was really mad about it. So I fixed it.
Oh, just because of the bleach.
Just
spot.
because I have a sad little bleach spot. So I repaired my underwear, but maybe I have a black butt crack now. Not sure.
Maybe forever.
Not sure. I'll get a mirror later and I'll update you guys. I'm sure you're super interested and everyone is very concerned. Moral of the story, maybe don't fix your underwear and then wear them. Maybe wash them first.
It's fitting now that your hair is half black, though.
Is it?
Yes.
I didn't Sharpie that. I did not Sharpie that. It was half black before. It was just very faded, so it was more purple-brown. Fresh dye, wet hair. Hopefully I won't get electrocuted. We'll find out. I don't know. We'll see. So what are your guys' funny work stories or terrible work stories? Let me hear them.
Should we go terrible first and then be like, it's all right,
we can
guys.
mix them
we
in.
Also have funny ones.
We can mix them in. I get real negative real fast and often, so it's going to happen. We're going to come back around to it.
I don't have any Sharpie stories. I've definitely been in the bathroom before and
You've definitely used the bathroom at work?
I've used the bathroom at least a handful of times. And then I was like, either something I didn't like my underwear or something like that, so I just took them off and threw them away.
You threw them away in the middle of your work?
Yep, I went under my underwear list the rest of the day.
Or, I don't know if you want me to tell this one, I'm going to tell it anyway.
Tell it.
I have no shame.
We worked, yes, that's good.
That's good for this podcast.
We worked together at Dunkin' Donuts, and Jana went to the bathroom, and she dropped her phone in the toilet, and she didn't want to reach in and grab it, so she just flushed it, and the phone went down the toilet.
I was like, surely the phone is heavy enough to not get stuck down the toilet. But I didn't account for the fact that it was those industrial strength Dunkin' Donuts toilets, because, coffee. And yes, it sucked it right in there.
So what did you do?
I went and bought a new phone that day.
It was like you did not have a phone after that?
I just went.
It never came back up.
No, it never came back up. I lost it. That's the only time I've lost the USB card or whatever those things are called.
The SD card?
Yes,
like the little
SD card, yeah, from my phone.
That is so funny, but so terrible.
I was just standing there like, I was wrong.
I did did something like that. I wasn't at work, though. I was cleaning the bathroom for my parents, and I luckily just cleaned the toilet, so it was open still. And I had my phone on the counter that I was also cleaning for some stupid reason, and I smacked my phone. And then I was like, oh, shit, I'm going to grab it. Tried to grab it and just basically slammed it straight down into the toilet instead of, like, catching it. Like, if I had just let it fall, it was one of those Razor flip phones, it would have been fine.
Yeah.
Instead, I basically, like, slam dunked it into the toilet and was just, like, I just stood there forever, like, taking my phone apart and, like, please work. Like, what happened?
You're like,
Toilet.
I slammed it into the toilet.
Yes, my dad was like, I'm not touching that. I was like, I just cleaned the toilet. He's like, I'm not touching that. That's not happening.
Well, mine definitely was not in a clean toilet, which is why I didn't want to reach down and get it.
You're like, no, thank you.
I really just thought it would not get sucked up. I mean, but I've been lucky with my bathrooms at work because I've worked at Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks. So you would think sometimes you'd walk into like a murder scene or something like that, but no.
I feel like Starbucks is where there's always reports of like people putting cameras and stuff in the bathroom. Wasn't that at a Starbucks?
Oh man,
they were like
surprised.
There's
a lot of people there that I would not want to watch in the bathroom. But really, the biggest things we had to worry about were like needles in the trash.
At Starbucks?
I worked at the Starbucks on Southern and Longmore, which was in Mesa.
Yes.
Next to Fiesta Mall, where someone got stabbed in the neck by a mental patient.
Very true. Wow, that is. So you were like changing the trash, and you're just like, I hope I don't get AIDS today.
Yes, you absolutely had to be.
Although,
same at Dunkin', but that was in.
Although,
Tempe.
not to spread things falsely, it's actually very difficult to get AIDS from another person. It has to be like very quickly after they were bleeding. If it's left on a needle or something, there's actually a very small likelihood of you catching AIDS.
Yeah, I'm sure that's
somebody tried to tell me, someone I work with who is big on conspiracy theories, tried to tell me you can get AIDS from a pedicure, and I was like, I don't think that's right. What? So I did some extensive Googling, and I was like, let's not
Depends on if it's
make AIDS more of a stigma than it already is,
only
guys.
If it's a pedicure from a government agent.
No, like, only if it's a pedicure, like, directly scooping blood out of somebody with AIDS and putting it into your wound, like immediately. It has a very small life outside of the human body.
Yeah.
Which is good to know.
You're not surprised. I feel like that's most things, which is why I never worry about stuff like that.
You were just like, I'll reach in, I'll grab these needles, no big deal.
Well, yeah, after you worked there for 2.5, 3 years, and you were just, like, done with it, you're, like, slamming your hand in the trash to get it down so you don't have to change it.
Oh, no. Oh, jeez.
But there were
funny.
a couple instances where there were needles.
Ugh.
You just take that trash out.
Is that the worst thing that's ever happened at Starbucks, or do you have any other horror stories? Because I always have people that are baristas tell me like the craziest stories that have happened to them.
Well, we had a lot of crazy people, obviously.
People are very particular about their coffee.
Not just that,
I would
but
imagine.
like just because it was Mesa and it was next to MCC, and like there was a lot of drug addicts. So one time we had these 2 young guys come in. And they just ordered waters, and they sat at the tables, and we were like, well, those are drug addicts. And one of them literally passed out, and we were like, is he dead?
Oh, no.
So we had to call the non-emergency police, and they came, and they, like, kind of, woke him up and took him somewhere, I don't know, to a farm or something. But
A farm?
It was a joke about when your pet
your
gets
pets
taken
die.
to a farm.
Oh, I see. So maybe this individual was dead.
I don't think he was. He ended up waking up, and then there was one time where there's 2, because I used to do the closing shifts, and one time I was working with this guy Jack, and it was like 11 o'clock at night, and this couple came to the door, and they were like knocking on the door, and I was like, I don't think you should answer the door, and he was like, no, I'm gonna answer the door, and he answered it, and they were like, oh, are you guys open? We need to use the phone. And he gave them the phone, but they were like, oh, the person wasn't there or whatever. And they were like, can you give us a ride somewhere? And I was like, you should not give them a ride somewhere. You're going to get killed. He did it. So I was like, well, I'm going with you then. And so here Jack and I are in his car with these 2 random people in the backseat. And there was definitely an air of, like, awkward uncomfortableness, and I was like, were they planning on killing him? And that's
Maybe they're like, our plan is foiled.
I know, and so I like
Maybe
to
they
think
thought it was cute, and they were like, let's invite him in. And they're like, now there's a girl here?
We
don't want that.
He did get a lot of people hitting on him. So I was like, maybe I like to think I saved his life then.
You hold it over him forever, like I saved you.
Yes.
Oh, it's funny.
And then there was a time I was closing with Matt, and
we can edit out names.
I'm sorry, but we had 5 Matts at the store, so we called them by their first and last name. And he didn't do anything, but we were closing, and he was outside stacking the chairs. So we didn't do that; people would steal them. And this huge guy comes walking by, and I was just standing there frozen. We had these huge windows. I was like, oh my god, what am I going to do? I'm going to kill him? What am I going to do?
You're just going to stand and watch?
All I had was the serrated bread knife that we used to cut bread sometimes. And
it's not the size of the weapon, it's how you use it.
Yeah, it's true. If only it was electric. And so then I see Matt talking to the guy. I see the guy walk over and pick up the giant metal umbrella holder, which had to have been at least 500 pounds, lift it over his head.
Oh my god.
He's going to smash him with that and toss it into the parking lot. And then walk away.
Oh, what happened?
And so Matt came in, I was like, what the hell just happened? I thought he was going to kill you. And he was like, oh no, he just walked up to me. I was like, how's your neck going? He was like, good. How's your neck going? I was like, good. And he walked over to the umbrella stand and picked it up. I was like, where do you want me to put this? And I was like, it was good where it was. He was like, no, I'm going to put it here. And then tossed it into the parking lot and walked away.
Oh
and
my
gosh.
Just like,
gangs on PCP.
That is so funny.
It was insane.
I love that he was just like, it was like, no, it's going to go over here now. You're like, all right.
I know, and here
fine.
I am, just like, oh my god, what am I going to do if he kills it?
Just frozen there like he's going to murder somebody.
Yeah, it was a really, really great first job, but we had some insane drug addict. There was this crazy homeless lady, and I was sitting on a grassy knoll sort of thing that we had by the store.
The grassy knoll?
That's what I called it.
She was sitting on the grassy knoll, you guys.
The grassy knoll that a couple people at my store got married on.
But was there one or two shooters?
Well, I have one because it was a guy and a girl. And she walked over and she was talking, and I was like, okay. And then she said, are you from here? And I was like, yeah. And she said, with that accent, I doubt it. And I was like, come to find out, this same lady, when one of my coworkers was out putting the umbrellas out, I think she was putting them out for the day. She worked mornings. Like, started chasing her and hitting her with, like, an umbrella or a cane or something.
Oh, no, just out of the blue, just started chasing her. That's so weird.
I know, it was just, there were a lot of weird, bizarre, hilarious things that happened.
That's so weird. Just, like, didn't say anything to her, just started chasing her?
Just started chasing her.
All right.
Yeah, and there was a time where it was being used for a pyramid scheme, because we had, like, it started with a few people, and then it turned into, like, 20, 25 people just walking around the lobby. All they did was order waters, of course.
Oh.
And they were, like, it was a total pyramid scheme. I don't remember what they were trying to sell, but they were like, you're Donald Trump, blah, 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 and we were just like,
I'm not buying it.
I mean, they would, like, use the Starbucks as their place of operation.
I'd be like, get out.
Yeah, so we were like, are we gonna, is this allowed to happen? It went on for months.
You can definitely kick them out, I'm gonna say.
Well, we never did, because they weren't really causing problems,
They were just doing illegal activities,
yeah,
no big deal.
It was very annoying, and I wanted to get them out of there so bad, but we kind of just let them do their thing.
What about you, Kara? You've just been, like, sitting here quietly the whole time.
I don't have any crazy stories like that.
Let's hear your sad stories. Tell us some
I
sad
have any
stories.
sad
Bring
ones?
us down.
Oh, no.
There was, so, while you're thinking of yours, I feel like a lot of people thought that, like, their Starbucks baristas were, like, the quintessential, like, bartender.
Oh, no.
Because I would have people come in, and we were like, oh, how's your day going? Not good. Oh, why not? my husband died and I have cancer and my kids got into a car accident. One of them's in a coma, and you're just like,
You're like, so what kind of coffee did you want?
here's your caramel frappuccino. Like, I couldn't even give them it for free because they were telling me when I was working bar after they already paid for it.
Jeez.
Like, I was just like, I'm not equipped to deal with this.
This is not in my job description.
Yeah. So it was always kind of sad because you, like, wanted... But you're also making 20 other drinks at the same time, so these people are sitting there
Trying to talk to you, and you're like, God,
trying
that's
to
sad,
talk
but I'm
to you
super busy.
about serious things, and you're like, and you're like going and making your
That's sad. Did you want some whipped
frappuccinos,
cream on that? On my
Yeah.
dead son? No, on your Starbucks. Sorry.
So stuff like that would happen. That was always kind of sad, but
I'm sure they appreciated being able to just tell somebody. So that.
yeah, I just felt like a jackass, like being like, caramel macchiato. Yes, so tell me about your dog again. Cappuccino. Oh, and what happened? I'm so sorry. What happened?
Oh. I feel like a lot of places end up like that, where people think that it's like, how was your day? Oh, shouldn't have asked. Like, like we had one individual that when I worked at a copy center, we would not ask her anything because she would stand there and tell you how horrible everything was for hours. Like, I was warned when I worked there, they're like, this is her name. Do not screw up her order or she will refuse to pay for it, even though it's only like 25 cents.
Oh my god.
It's like, just you have to do it just like this. She ran some sketchy school that I don't think was like a legit school, and it kind of rubbed me the wrong way because it seemed like she was preying on people that had immigrated to the country. Like, she was doing, like, I think it was like she was certifying them to be like a babysitter, something like that, right? Didn't seem legit. But we'd print out certificates for her as like, you come into your local coffee center for these certificates, like, you're not running a legit operation. So I never liked her, but of course it always had to be nice.
Yeah.
Because she was the kind of person that she would call corporate all the time, but I was like, hey, look, who else complains about me? I'm adorable. It's only her, so don't really care. Like, I was kind of like, I was like, what are you gonna do, fire me? I don't care. I work part-time here. Fire me.
Yeah.
Have fun. But she would come in and just, like, you couldn't ask her anything. You're like, here's your order. All right, I think the copier's on fire. Excuse me. Like, what? It looks fine to me. Nope, I'm pretty sure it's internally on fire. Goodbye.
I'm the professional. I would know if the copy is on.
I'd just be like, look, it's really jammed, and I gotta stick my whole arm up in here, so I'll be right back.
Into the fire.
Yes.
Customer complaints are always insane. Like that
Those are
dude
my
with his
favorite.
cup of sugar. Right?
Oh,
Remember?
yeah.
That was insane.
Well, especially when you work at a place that has they have the, not mentality, but like,
They put a lot of stock.
They enforce the customer's always right. So they'll always side with the customer regardless of the situation.
Like, he shat on the counter. They're like, he's right to do that. That's his right as a customer.
Our direct
To shit on the
manager
counter.
was not like that.
Mm-mm.
She
That's
always
good.
had your back. She was a great manager. But the company as a whole was like, no, customer always.
Yeah, not even just customer always, but it was like, fuck the little person, because there was one time we had a policy of not taking hundreds and fifties, but we did it all the time.
I remember that.
They even had, this was at Dunkin', they even
Dunkin'
had
Donuts,
a pen that you could use, a
To check
counterfeit
it.
pen.
Yeah.
So we were like, you tell us not to take them, but you have the pen here, and I guess it's for 20s too. But
yeah.
so one time I took a 50 and I looked at it, used the counterfeit pen. It ended up being counterfeit, and it was when I was at ASU. I was in the middle of it wasn't a test, but it was my teacher, one of my teaching classes. So people were like giving presentations. I'm getting a call from my boss. I'm like, oh my God. And so I walk into the hallway and I'm like, yeah, hello. And she was like, you took a fake 50, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And she's like, this is a big deal. This is a really, really big deal. We're not supposed to take
it on
this,
our
blah,
pay.
blah, blah. And I was
Jesus
like,
Christ.
and she was like, this is like a fireable offense. I was just like, what the hell? And I was like, she's like, $50 is a lot of money. And I was like, Okay, she was like, I think you're gonna have to like pay it back or whatever. And I was like, okay, yeah, I know $50 is a lot of money. I have like $60 in my bank account right now, and you're making me pay back the $50.
Jeez.
To freaking Dunkin' Donut. I mean, it was franchise, but still. And actually, the owner owned some other leather stores, so I called him Leather Daddy. Not to his face. I never met him. Face. Only when we were talking about him. But
just when we were talking about him behind his back.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I had to go in and pay the $50 back, but they we weren't supposed to take tips, but the morning people would sometimes put out like a tip cup, and so they put out the tip cups and they gave me all the tips for the $50.
So
yeah, it was very nice.
That's nice that you worked with people like that. That at least it was like a bad situation, but then they turned it around a little bit.
Yeah, the people we worked with were awesome. And they were insane, but they were amazing people.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, we could take this two ways. We could take this the insane way or the also counterfeit way. We'll go insane first, just to show you how insane they were.
We want to hear both. Kara.
We had a couple of people who worked with us who would often have sex in the bathroom while they were working. And so one of our other coworkers decided that when they were doing that, it was not prudent for them to be doing that.
Well,
so
plus she was mad because they weren't working.
Yeah, she was very mad when anybody wasn't working.
I don't care if you have sex in the bathroom. It's just not when it's busy. You can do that on your break.
And so she pretended that our manager had come back because she left to go do something. She was like, "Oh, our manager's back," and then they were still having sex in the bathroom. So then they were like ran out of the bathroom, and she wasn't there, and they were like, "What the hell?" And it was very funny.
Like half dressed, like zipping up pants, like, "Huh, what?"
Oh man, that was good.
I didn't work mornings with them, but I heard a couple stories about them. So yeah, apparently that store saw a lot of sex. Starbucks saw some sex too, like people having sex on the manager's desk.
Wow.
Yeah, and because there was, you gotta learn your angles of where the cameras can't
Do it
reach.
in the parking lot like everybody else.
We had dance parties in the parking lot.
So funny. You do it in the car. You just pour it on the back. Come on, guys. Where my husband worked, there was a lot of people. He worked at a pizza place right here in Dana Park. I won't name any names, but Dana Park, Mesa.
For anybody, there might be only one, maybe two.
Dana Park is technically Mesa?
Yes, it's Mesa.
Gosh.
Yeah, I'm technically Mesa too. I'm right
Baseline's
down that's over.
Well, I knew this
was
was Mesa, but that was only because of something when I was looking up the Wells Fargo.
They are right on the edge of, like, as if you cross the street, you're in Gilbert.
Yeah,
but
Baseline's the line.
When he worked there was a manager that would have sex with not just one, but more than one of the girls that were under him. So he was their boss.
Oh my gosh.
And one of the girls, it was so funny because she had this pink scooter that was like very obviously hers. So we would be coming home from like a friend's house or something. We would pass where he worked and he'd be like, "Oh, there's his truck. There's her pink scooter."
Oh my gosh.
And it would happen all the time. And he was like, "This is ridiculous." Well, because his general manager was special like that. "Oh, I have kids, so you don't have anybody in your life." I'm like, "He's married, you cunt." But yeah, I'm gonna throw that out. I have some anger issues.
To her husband.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
because he was one of those people that was like, "I'm more important than you." I'm like, "Sweetheart, no." He's like, "I'm a general manager and it makes me something special." I'm like, "It doesn't make you not special, but it doesn't make you special. Like, you're just doing your fucking job. Like,
yeah.
Nobody's better than you because of it. Nobody's under you. Like, you can't hold it over." But he would hold it over people. For some reason,
like a real Harvey Weinstein situation.
He kind of was. Well, this wasn't the guy that was sleeping with people, but he made my husband be number one on the call list for the alarm company. Because he was like, "Well, I have kids and I'm more important than you, so you can go drop whatever you're doing and take care of stuff." He was the same supervisor that would constantly call my husband with some issue or other or yell at him about something for hours on end, and I'd be like, "Honey, the house is on fire." Like, I'd be like, Tell him that you don't need to talk to him right now because you're not on the clock and you're not getting paid.
Yeah.
He can yell at you when you get into work tomorrow. Like, it was one of those situations.
Also, he called him all the time to ask him how to do things.
Yes, you remember that. You remember, see, Kara remembers sitting in the room and hearing these conversations where you're like, he's called Josh 5 times when you were around to ask the same question. And you were just like, if you can't fucking figure it out, then you need to promote my husband and not make him just like, he was doing all of the same stuff as the other managers, but he wasn't salaried, so he wasn't getting sick time. He wasn't getting health benefits. He was not getting anything.
Oh my gosh.
And yet he was number 1 on the alarm system call. So this actually turned out to be in a disadvantage because we had driven past and seen this other manager's truck and this girl's scooter in the parking lot for like a week straight. And he's like, oh my God. And he's like, they're there so late. Like, he was mad because he's like, the alarm company is going to call me. He'd be like, I'm going to go home. I'm going to fall asleep. And as soon as I do. So that did happen one night. And he went, oh my gosh, they haven't left yet? No, they didn't tell me they were going to stay late. And they're supposed to tell me they're going to stay late. Something must have happened. You should definitely send the police. And I don't know what happened. I do know Josh had to go down and meet them whenever this was what would happen. He would have to drive down too in case like a report had to be filled out. He was the person that had to do it. But halfway there, I think they called him and they were like, oh, it turns out they just weren't answering the phone or something because they didn't want anybody to know they were still there. And I think like a week later, the general manager, who was a piece of work, had finally figured out that like when Josh was like, he's sleeping with everybody, that it was true. Their response to that was like, well, we'll put up cameras so that they can't
instead of firing him?
No, they put up a camera that was facing the office. Well, the funny thing was they found out if they opened the door and kept the door open, it blocked the camera. Because they were like, we'll see you shut the door, you know, like when you go in there with another person, and if you're in there with a girl, like after hours, you know, we'll know what's going on, kind of a thing. But if they shut the door to a certain amount, like if it was wide open, you could see in, and if it was shut, you could see the door shut. But if they angled it just right, because they had a monitor, so they could see what the camera was seeing, so they would just angle the door and just have sex with the door open because nobody else was in the restaurant and the front door was locked.
Oh my god!
And like he was like, "No, I'm serious." They're like, "Well, we don't see it on the camera." So then they made, you know, my husband looks like he's full of shit, and he's like, "We drive past it, we see their car late all the time." It's finally, like, I think that incident made him think, like, oh, maybe something is going on because they're the only 2 people here far after they should be, so far after that the alarm company sent the police. He got fired, like, a week later.
Well, that's good. That general manager should have been fired, too.
Oh, no, he's still there.
What?
Yes.
We've had a lot of friends work there, and they all think he is the worst ever.
So the funny thing was when he started working for a financial institution and making, like, far more, getting benefits and all this stuff, and he was like, wow, I should have done this a long time ago. But he was like, he stayed in a bad situation because he was afraid, like, well, what if nothing else is better?
Yeah.
And he kept thinking they had promised him, like, things. He had a verbal agreement that he was going to get a raise and, like, get made salary, and then somebody else over that person's head,
dick, right?
somebody else over the other person's head was like, nope. But he let them jerk him around for a long time, so he finally left. They were getting prank calls. And I found out from one of our friends who went there to eat still. He was like, yeah, Josh has been calling the store making prank calls. And Josh was like, no, I've been busy at my actual,
what
like,
the hell? Why the fuck?
40-hour-a-week job where I'm making money. And he's like, no, he said that. Like, we had just bought our house and we found out he still thought this. This was like 3 years after he had stopped working there. No, 4. No, it wasn't. It wasn't that long. It was probably only a couple of years. But we had bought our house around the corner from it, and he was like, yeah, he thinks you made a prank call. And I was like, we're out in the fucking pool right now. We're enjoying the pool while you're working. So no, sir, it wasn't. And I was so mad about it. And then I found out it was one of our friends. Who kind of sounds like Josh on the phone. So I was like, oh my God, that's so funny. But I was like, you asshole. You were getting him. I'm like, this loser that thinks that, like, my husband is the worst person in the world. Like, he's prank calling. I'm like, he doesn't think about you. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't have time to call and prank you because he doesn't care.
No, but I could see Josh calling.
I can
too,
like, but he was like,
hey, is your refrigerator? You better catch it.
Well, I think our friend did end up telling him, like, no, that was actually me, and he didn't believe him.
Oh my God.
Like, fuck you.
I have been very lucky that I've had always really awesome managers, but Karen can't say the same thing.
Because you were my manager.
I wasn't your manager. I was your shift supervisor.
Ooh, fancy.
No, we had a really bad manager. I just didn't care for him as a person or human being.
No.
And neither did a lot of people, so much that okay, this is the best part. He's just very...
Yeah, you gotta paint the picture of this devil man.
No,
This devil
he's
man.
very like, I'm gonna pretend to be your friend and make you
and use it
think,
against you.
well, make you think that this is a great place to work and we love everything. We love you. We love the little man. But he basically just saw every person who worked there as a number and as a salary. And he would be happy when people got fired because he could bring somebody else and pay them less into their position.
Ooh.
Like he's all about numbers.
What a dick.
Uh,
Floppy one.
and
Nothing wrong with that.
And and this one, we had some polo shirts, and I was like, oh, can I have one of these? And he was like, yeah, those are smalls, though. And I was like, thanks. And I took it, and of course it fit. So forget you, man.
I would have brought it in and been like, too bad you didn't have any extra smalls. This one was a little big.
Yeah, so he just like...
What a jerk. I would never say that to anybody.
But
I would just be like, yeah, I don't know what size they are, because I would want to prompt the person, like... If I thought that a size might not fit somebody, it wouldn't be like, oh, I'm being mean. I'd be like, oh, I want to make sure you don't take this home and get sad about it. So I'd be like, oh, I'm not sure what size those are, but yeah, you can have one. And then if they were like, oh, this won't fit me, I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. But if they were like, I'm going to take this, I'd be like, all right.
I wish that I wish I would. You always wish you're quick enough. You're like, it doesn't matter what size it is when I'm cleaning up shit with it or something like that.
Oh,
I don't know if that would have played as well as you think it would have.
I'm going to use this for shit. So there.
But so just like, I was very vocal about how much I did not like this guy. And one of my coworkers, who is a very good, very, very good friend, decided to be my champion for the day. And at our office party, he got very drunk.
Oh, no.
And he put our boss in a headlock. Cause he
was like, take this.
He's very into...
what you get for saying
he's very into, like, judo and, like...
Oh, my
jujitsu.
God.
Judo. Is it? It's judo.
It's
judo.
Jujitsu is the holds.
It's judo.
Are you sure?
Don't listen to this. Cody, don't listen. It's judo.
You're making me cry.
It's judo.
See how mad Carol was?
Judo.
It's
turning red.
Jiu-Jitsu.
Text him right now.
I will. It is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Now, it's he's very
you
into
can take
judo
bets right
or
now.
jiu-jitsu. And so he loves to put people in headlocks and pretend, and he just goes, go to sleep, go to sleep. And so on this night, he put our boss in a headlock and twice. And he just came up to me, he's like, that's for you, Kara. That's for you. This is for you. I'm going to do it. This is for you.
People are going to know who he is. He's known for putting people in headlocks, especially when he's drunk.
Well, good. He can get a little notoriety for his heroism.
If he wants, he can plug his social media. You can send me a link.
And it's the best. It was really the best and made it all worth it. Not really, because he was terrible.
That's so funny. Put him in a headlock. I can't imagine anybody putting any of my supervisors in a headlock.
Well, so he did it the first time, and I was like, oh my God, because he looked pissed. He was so mad. He walked away and looked so mad, and then he did it again. And I was like, no, stop, please. Oh, it's wonderful.
I once I worked at a call center, and that was a lot of fun. At that time, I did not know that I had a medical condition that causes too much adrenaline. So if I would get the least bit stressed out,
I'm just going to interrupt you real quick. You sound like you have the best, problem ever. Oh, I can bend in weird ways. Oh, I have lots of adrenaline.
If it didn't hurt, it would be the most amazing thing
You'd
ever.
be like a superhuman.
Well, that's actually what happened. I used to think I was really strong, and it turns out I'm not at all. It was just adrenaline. And I'm super disappointed. I used to be like, why could I lift so much? I could be like, what's your problem? What's your problem? Come on, come on, come on. I'd be lifting something over my head running, and my husband's like, I'm like, you're way bigger and stronger than me. What's your problem? It was just adrenaline. And part of why I have so many shoulder problems. Call centers and adrenaline issues are not something that should go together.
Oh my God.
It's very
Especially,
crazy.
yeah, at work.
I don't know how I survived. Now that I'm nice and medicated, I'm like, how the fuck did I work there without losing my mind? Like, I'm just like, nothing's that big of a deal, which it's funny because I'd be sitting there like, this isn't a big deal, but my body would be reacting like it. And I'm like, I don't know why this is happening. Like, you'd freak out over something. You're like, I'm not even upset, but I'm upset. This is terrible.
And then you figured it out. That's good.
Yes.
All right, we got confirmation. It was jujitsu.
Oh, I'm sorry,
But-
Kara. You were so mad.
Because literally all he talks about is judo. And Ronda Rousey does judo, and I got them confused. Literally, I've never heard him talk about
confused with
jujitsu.
Ronda Rousey.
And he always talks about judo. He's obsessed with judo.
He's obsessed with jujitsu.
No, he's obsessed with judo, but he took jujitsu.
Text him
I
again.
have
Text
never
him
heard him
again.
talk about judo.
That's the only thing he talks to me about.
He has gone to jujitsu places.
Maybe
to
he's
study
just saying jujitsu really fast. It sounds like he's like jitsu, and you're like judo. Obviously, you're saying judo.
Jutsu.
Either way, he's the hero we don't deserve.
Yes. Except for
Except for we do deserve.
we do
it.
deserve it. We are all heroes.
Punch in the table. That's so funny. We had, when I worked, I have so many funny stories from when I worked at a copy center. We had this weird guy that owned a barbecue place. And he had a major crush on my supervisor who was like in charge of the copy center. And she and I would work together a lot. And every time we saw him coming, I was like, hide, because he loved her. And like, I would be like, you need to go in the back right now. She'd be like, why? I'm like, you need to just go. You're on break. Every time we saw him coming, because he would just be so creepy with her to the point where I was like, this is not okay. And we would tell other managers, and they like didn't seem to take it seriously. And I was like, this is not okay. And he would always buy these banners that we would print right there. He would always do something, like tell us to do something, and then be like, oh, that's wrong. So then he would get it for free or for cheap. The meaner she got, the like more he was into it. Like in front of his face, we would like rip them up and throw them away. And then he decided he was going to use these not outdoor banners. These are banners that are made of paper. They're pretty sturdy, but they're like not made for long-term use because he didn't want to pay for those. So he'd just keep buying these paper ones. He'd like attach them to the side of his big van. And he had one of those vans that didn't have a lot of windows. It was real creepy. He would just like paste them to the side of his van or whatever the fuck. And he would always try to get her to come out and look at it. And she's like, he's trying to kidnap me.
Oh my God.
Based on the way he talked, he used to come in to like the copy center was like separate from the rest of the store. He would come in through the little gate and get right behind her, and I was like, his dick is touching her back. Can we not? Can we not? Like, yes, he would do that with all of us, and then he would reach over us and like type on the computer for us. And I'm like, I can design this banner without you. Do not. Like, he tried it one time, and I was like, I'm gonna hit you with the keyboard. And he was just like, and he'd never complained though, so we could kind of say whatever. But like, that was like the last straw. She's like, I'm done with this guy. I'm pretty sure he tried to kidnap me. He's like, just come on out. Just come on, look at my van. And he was standing there when she was on her break with the door open. He's like, just come on. We're like, we can't see the banner because the door's open. What are you trying to show her? In your van, you creep.
Oh my God.
Terrible.
All it's missing is him saying, I have candy.
Straight up.
Which might work on me. Also,
this is true. You both are sugar fiends.
Yeah, we're
I mean,
sugar-
I am too, so I can't really talk.
I wasn't here for this because it was when Kara worked mornings, but she had a bit of a stalker.
I didn't even know. He
You
was, I
didn't
guess.
know?
I was just like, la 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 la. Here's some coffee.
Oh no. See,
End of story. No, that's not the end of the story.
tell the story.
I didn't, I guess, so I worked at Dunkin' Donuts for a little bit, and then I quit and didn't work there, and then I worked there again. So the first time, on my last day, I had heard everybody say, oh, there's our guy that comes in the morning, he really likes you, he has a crush on you. And I was like, okay, I was 19, I think.
And one of the bitches gave him her work schedule. I was so mad.
no,
That's
that's not safe.
illegal.
Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone listening, if someone asks for your coworker's schedule, you say, I am not allowed to give that out, even if you are, or you say, I don't know how to read. You literally tell them anything. Be like, I can't read work schedules.
If someone
Sorry.
says, what's Kara's work schedule? Say, who's Kara?
Yes, you don't know that person. Be like, I don't know who that is. She's not on the schedule. I think we fired her.
Just start throwing donuts at them. And say,
Make
"Get
something
out!"
up. Be like, she always works. Tell them she works when the place is closed. Like, this is the only time she works.
Say, oh, she left. She moved.
You don't
she moved
ever.
to Yemen.
You
I guess
never
I'm going
tell
to Yemen.
somebody. Even if it's a family member, you just say, oh, I'm not sure, because you don't know who's in a domestic violence situation. You don't know who is not supposed to have custody of somebody, anything. It could be like the craziest thing that you don't know about. You go, oh, I'm not sure. We don't have the schedule printed. Then you ask that person, hey, if your mom comes in, do you mind? Like, that might seem crazy. People are like, what the hell? But she might be like, no, I never talked to my mother. She's tried to kill me several times, and I have a restraining order on her. Do not ever give her my schedule.
Or it could be someone lying, saying, I'm her mother.
Yeah, even if you see this person, with them, just be like, oh, I'm not really sure. You can text her.
Yeah.
If they're that
I
close
don't
to
know,
somebody,
ask her.
they can ask them.
Mm-hmm.
But so what happened? Did you ever like confront him?
No, so I didn't know. And then he, on my last day, he was like, oh, so your last day? I was like, yeah. And he was like, can I have your phone number? And I was like, no, I don't want to give you my phone number.
I hate that situation.
And I turned beet red, and he was like, oh, she's blushing. And I was like, not because I'm into it.
He also brought you a flower.
Did he?
Yes.
I don't
yes,
remember
I
that.
remember Jana telling me this.
There was a flower
Yes.
involved. And so I wrote down my number, and I'm just very socially awkward, so I almost started writing my real phone number. So then I had to change the last 4 digits really quickly.
That's
And I was
what
like,
I do.
here you go. And then I never saw him again.
You are so
Thank
lucky.
God.
See, there's another podcast I listen to. I'm going to plug it. My Favorite Murder. They always say fuck politeness. What they mean by that is, like, if somebody is putting you in a situation where you feel uncomfortable, you are not required. And especially as women, we feel a lot of the time like, oh, I have to be nice. I have to not be a bitch. I have to not be a, like that horrible bitchy person. Like, not like they think that I'm better than them or whatever. I have to give them my phone number. I have to be polite. You don't have to be polite. If somebody's like, hey, can you give me directions? And you're uncomfortable, be like, no, I'm sorry, I'm late. Bye. Leave. You can be like, no, I don't want to give you my phone number. You can say that, and it's okay. And that's something that I still struggle with, because it's like, even though my normal persona is like, no, fuck you, especially if I'm in a work situation, I'm like, oh no, I have to be polite. But you don't have to give anybody your number.
I don't even like giving people I know my phone number. But it's always the best when they're like, oh, you can't have friends? You can't have friends? No, I can't have you as my friend.
They're like, oh, is it because your boyfriend? Is it because your husband doesn't want? I'm like, no, I don't like you, actually. Like, now I've gotten to a point where I'm just like, no, I don't want to give you my phone number because I don't have to. What are you going to do about it? And they're like, oh, I guess nothing. I'm like, exactly. Yeah. You're not going to do anything. And if you try, I'll break you. It is your choice here.
You're like, I have adrenaline, lady.
Yeah, I'm like, I'll just stop taking my heart meds, and then I'll break you in half and have a heart attack. And then whose fault will it be?
I worked with someone who got her identity stolen. And so when the bosses were like, give me all your information, she was like, no, I will give you no information ever. And I was like, that's exactly how I would be.
Once you get that stolen, like, that's for the rest of your life. You have to deal with that,
you
basically.
You trust nobody, ever.
Well, you still will have, like, stuff pop up and you're like, that wasn't me. Yeah. That wasn't me. Oh, 50 years ago, that wasn't me.
Oh
like, you'll
God,
still have to deal
horrible.
with it. It never, there's really no fix for it. Because I worked in a financial institution where people would call in when they had their identity stolen, and it was just like, there's nothing that you can really do about it. It's just every time a new credit card gets opened or a new loan, you would just have to file your little report being like, that's not me, my credit was stolen, there's a history of this, and they would pretty much just be like, oh, okay. They do a little investigation, but it's just like, you have to deal with it. Like, it never goes away. It's
you had
terrible.
a bunch of different jobs in that place.
Yes.
They moved you around like it was musical chairs.
Well, it was because I kept applying for lateral movement. They would promote you but not want to pay you more, so they would call everything a lateral move, including a move I made that was not a lateral move. It was one of those like, well, do you want this job? We're barely going to pay you more than you're already making now, which is half of what we should be paying you. And I was like, all right, I want the experience. And now I make double that, so neener. Yeah, I got laid off, and I was like, this is terrible. And then I was like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I'm so happy.
It happens so much.
It does. So it's like, it's really funny because in some ways, the financial institution, which will not be named, but is also a call center, I learned a lot there because I wasn't doing call center stuff for more than like a year. And then other than that, it was all like financial crimes, fraud, compliance. It was all really interesting stuff that I learned. And sometimes it was a really great company to work for, depending on like your supervisor and what department you were in. It was crazy how different it could be. And when we had a parent company that owned us, it was really great. And once we were no longer part of that parent company, they were like, we don't really care if you're happy anymore. We just want to make sure that we're doing, paying you as little as possible to get as much work out of you as we can, and firing you for the smallest thing. Like, I never got written up, which was crazy, but I knew people that did for like the dumbest thing. Was like, I don't even know, like one time when I hadn't been working there for very long, and this was when I was doing like call center stuff. One of the girls I worked with got accused, like this other supervisor that had no business even like eavesdropping, but was, because our supervisor was gone. She's like, excuse me, young lady, what did you say? And everyone's like, what? And she's like, you said fuck. And I was like, no, that was probably me, because I have a potty mouth and I know how to use a mute button. That was probably me. And I'm pretty sure it's probably me, because this girl was not really, I mean, like, everybody curses and stuff, whatever, but she was not that type. Like, she was gunning for, like, a senior agent type position, which she is currently still in, and actually, she got where she wanted to go. She was that type that was, like, kind of overachiever and stuff, but, like, I think she may not have gotten written up, but she may have got, like, a warning, and it was just one of the dumbest things where I was like, how do you know she said it? You're on the other side. Like, I'm pretty sure it was me, first off. And she's like, no, I know for sure it wasn't you. I could see you. And I'm like, how do you know I didn't say it 5 minutes ago and you just now registered it? Like, why are you blaming her for something when you can't even see her mouth? You don't know what the fuck she said. Like, how do you know she fucking said fuck? And I was like, it was probably me. And I was so mad about it. But it was just like stuff like that where you'd have like, our supervisor was great, but then like somebody else would be like up in your business for no reason, just like, I don't know, it was like she didn't like her or something. I'm just like, why is that your problem? Like, go away, go find something else to do.
It's freaking insane.
It was very weird. Such a mix.
That was every day at Starbucks. We used to have these boxes that we would put like 20s and 50s and 100s in. And of course they were called boxes. That was the first time I learned what that was a euphemism for. And then we'd bend down and like get milk out of the fridge, or like stock the fridge, or get the stuff out of the boxes. And we'd always say like, while you're down there was tons of cornholing, which is where you like punch someone in the butthole.
My mom and her sister used to call that oil checking. Like, they'd run up to each other and they'd like poke each other in the butthole and be like, checked your oil. And I was like, that's so gross. What's wrong with you? They were very weird sisters.
Punching thumbs.
They were very weird sisters.
Lots of butt stuff. I mean,
lots of butt stuff.
That was, I guess, it definitely could have been sexual harassment, but that was just...
I think it depends, and this is the thing that some people don't understand, is I have worked with people that it'll be like somebody that I've worked with for multiple years, and we'll joke, be like, your butt looks good in those pants, or whatever, and like tease each other, but we're good enough friends to where it's not sexual, it's not weird, it's just like, hey, you should wear those pants more because they make your butt look good. You should feel good about it. But then it's like somebody that doesn't know you tries to say it too, and you're like, look, I've known him for 2 years, I've known you for 2 seconds. If you can't figure out the difference between why it's okay, then like, I'm sorry. You know, like that kind of a thing where sometimes it's like people assume that, oh, well, you said a joke to your black friend, so I can say a joke to your black friend. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. They've known each other for a long time. They have that kind of a rhetoric built up. They know that the other person is joking. They are comfortable with that. You don't know them. You don't get that right to just because somebody says something to someone. It doesn't involve you, and you didn't earn the right to have that kind of a joking relationship. I think sometimes people miss that, and you're just like, hold up, what are you doing? Luckily, I never really had to worry too much about that. Most places it would be like any sort of harassment they took seriously. And it's funny because where I worked at one point in time, they were like that. And then I think it was probably about the time they left the parent company, sexual harassment wasn't a big deal to them anymore, to where I had, we'll call him a supervisor. He was under my supervisor, but above me. And he was somebody that had to be relied on for like questions. He had to do certain things at the end of the night. And I worked like a night shift. And a lot of the time it would be like me and a few other people and him. So I got to know him pretty well because he also was somebody that trained me for this role. He was really nice. He's much older than me, and I didn't think too much of it other than he seems kind of lonely, needs a friend. And we would like work gossip because this place was one of those places you had to be up on all of the gossip or it would be used against you. And I really hated, like, now I'm just like, oh, I just go to work Nobody cares about anybody. Nobody's up in anybody's business. I just do my fucking job and I go home. It's beautiful. But here, everyone was up in everybody's business. And if you didn't know what was going to happen, it could like surprise you. So you had to be on top of everything. It was very stressful. I didn't even realize till I left. I was like, holy shit, that was half of the stress was just like constant ear to the ground. Who's getting fired? Who's getting laid off? Why? If I do that, am I? Because they wouldn't tell you. Like somebody would do something that nobody knew was a problem. And then all of a sudden, they would decide it was a problem so they could get rid of that person. You're like, does that mean I can't do that? They're like, no, it's fine. No, but he just got fired for that thing. Oh, well, we've changed the policy. It's fine. So it was that thing where you were, like, trying to figure out stuff before it happened. So I would talk to him a lot. And I would always go on walks because doctor's orders, I have to walk 30 minutes a day. So I would usually walk on, like, every break, just be like, extra, make sure I'm fine. Mm-hmm. And he would walk with me. And at first it was like fine, but then it got to a point where it was like every time I went to break, if I didn't tell him I was going, he was like, oh, hey, how come you went to break without me? And so I started avoiding him. And he'd text me and be like, hey, I'm going at this time. So we had to give him our phone numbers, of course, in case we needed to call out. And our supervisor wasn't there. He was the next in line. So he had to have everybody's phone numbers. And he would text me all the time. And I remember one time he had joined me for lunch without me allowing it, and I was like doing one of those cute sentimental smiles you do, like as I was reading a text from one of my best friends who happens to be male, and he knew because I think he had seen who I was texting, and he was like, I bet you used to look at my texts like that. And I was like,
Ew.
What?
Yeah.
Like, I literally went, what? And he was like, oh, I remember when you and I used to text all night. I'm like, no, you would text me once or twice after I left work. And I would be like, yep, that was crazy. Like, that was the extent of it. And he made it seem like we had some sort of weird relationship. And I was just like, you need to back the bus up, buddy. Like, I was like, when the fuck did this happen? Like, I actually said it to him. I was like, when the fuck did this happen? Because I don't remember. He was, oh, come on. You don't remember? I was like, no, I don't fucking remember this. So after that, I was like, I'm going to avoid this fucker. So I would wait till he went to break, wait till he came back, and like sneak out another way to go on break so he couldn't follow me. He would just take another break. And I would walk our parking lot. It was a very big parking lot. The back of it backed up to like a hotel's parking lot. So it was very far from the building. And we'd have security, like, kind of check stuff sometimes, but they didn't seem to do it so much at night, which is probably when they should have done it more, but whatever. He would follow me to the point where people I didn't know were like, who's that creep that, like, stalks you? I'm like, yep, yeah, he's my senior agent, and he stalks me. Like, I would duck behind cars, and it sucked because I always carry a parasol when I'm walking to, like, protect me from the sun. And so I'd stick out, and I'd be like, God damn it. So we'd, like, close it and, like, duck behind a car, and he'd come over and be like, oh, yeah, you great. Gonna join me, aren't you? I mean, and he would ask me constantly, let's hang out. And, like, shortly before I got laid off, hey, maybe this has something to do with it. Someone I work with had overheard, like, him bothering me and me being like, goodbye, like, trying to get him away. She's like, he does it a lot, and he follows you to the parking lot. Do you invite him on those? I was like, nope. I was like, anybody's welcome to join me on my break. It's a free country. I can't tell people not to walk at the same time as me, but no, I do not explicitly invite this person. And a lot of the times, yeah, I would like to just take a walk by myself and read my Facebook and not have somebody walking next to me being awkward. Yeah, that'd be great. So she went to HR for me. The reason I hadn't gone to HR, he was good friends with my supervisor, who knew a lot of people in HR. What I thought would happen, happened. My supervisor took me in a room, was like, hey, I was like, no, it's, I was like, it's not that big of a deal, because I was testing to see what would happen. It's not that big of a deal. I was like, I don't explicitly invite him, and I was like, and I definitely don't need him walking me to my car like he is done at times, while the whole time I am saying, no, do not walk me to my car. I am fine. I am far scarier than you. Do not walk me to my car. And so I let him know that. He's like, oh, okay. Told the guy every fucking thing I had said. Wow, good thing I didn't say, like, what's really going on, and that this guy is, like, sexually harassing me over text, trying to get me to hang out with him, all sorts of weird stuff, and was, like, basically harassing me about this. So I'm like, well, good thing I didn't tell him the truth. After that, a lot of people would, like, try to make sure he didn't follow me and stuff, but that's how they treated that. And, like, the week before I got laid off, he's like, do you want to hang out? And I finally, like, I'd been before, like, well, I'm really busy. Like, I would, in my planner, write down, like, doing this, doing that every fucking day. So I could literally show him, be like, look, I'm really busy. There's no time. I finally was just like, why? And he was like, what? I was like, what? Sure. All right. What? We're going to hang out? What are we going to do? And he was like, you could come back to my place. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. So what are we going to do? He's like, get a coffee. I was like, I don't want to do that either. So what are we going to do? And he was like, go to the movies. I was like, I'm not going to the movies with you. I was like, I hate going to the movies. I never go to the movies, and I'm not going with you. I don't want to do anything with you. And no, I don't want to hang out with you outside of work. And I just like stormed back inside. You would think that was the end of it. He, after I got laid off, harassed me via text and knew people at financial institutions I was applying at. So I couldn't be a total bitch, but eventually he stopped messaging me.
Jeez.
All because I had been nice to this person. And that's the kind of shit that's like, when you deal with sexual harassment at work, a lot of the time people are like, well, what did you do? And it's like, I was nice to a lonely, weird creep, which apparently I should never be. And it kind of sucks because now it's like people that I don't directly work with, if they try to talk to me, I'm just like, all right, goodbye. Like, I'm just like not having it. Like somebody I don't know a couple times tried to talk to me on my lunch break. First off, it was creepy because he claims he works where I do. Everyone where I work dresses very professionally, and he was in jeans and a t-shirt. I'm like, you don't work in the same, maybe you work in the same building that has different companies. Like, second off, he would do it while I was on the phone to my mom. He'd be like, hi, I'm blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that's great, cool, bye. Like, just totally rude, because it's that thing where I'm finally like, no, fuck politeness. I don't have to be nice to you, because that could end up with me having another stalker.
This was the stalker?
This was my stalker.
He's pretty stalkery.
Well, I was like, this sounds like a stalker too. How many stalkers has she had?
No, this was just a guy that like tried to talk to me twice, and I was super rude to him.
Didn't you have one at the grocery store too?
I did, but I think he definitely had some developmental issues, so I felt kind of bad about it. But he would like try to follow me around while I was doing my job, but people there cared and were like, no, stop fucking following her. Like, you can't do that. He tried to follow me in the bathroom once. Somebody was like, no, fuck that. I will hit you myself. And I was just like, oh, geez. All right, guys, calm down. But that's the difference, is it's like, I've worked places where generally if something like that has happened, everybody else is like, no, we've got your back. You let us know. The last department of the financial institution I worked for did not seem to care about sexual harassment, because multiple times a girl would complain and she would get fired, which happened to my friend. She almost got fired. They started writing her up for stuff. She left before it got to that, but it was one of those things where it was like they would try to get rid of the victims instead of the person causing the problem.
That's illegal.
Sue them.
That's literally illegal.
Well, they also laid off a bunch of people with disabilities, so I mean...
Double sue. It's also illegal.
To where now, even though I talk about it openly on podcasts, and which you can find by Googling my name. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. And you can find it on like my Instagram. You can see me talking about disabilities. It's a quick Google search. I'm still terrified at the job I work at to let them know I have a disability. Pretty sure my supervisor gets it, because if I'm like, I don't feel well, he's like, go home, take care of yourself. I'm pretty sure he sees my medical bracelet. Like, most people see the symbol. He probably thinks I have diabetes or something, because that's all people kind of associate it with. But I'm terrified to like let them know that I had FMLA at my last job, because that did not save me. And they seemed to actually target those individuals. And I feel fine saying this, even though I signed non-disclosure. It was technically, I'm just going to get this right out now, because of the fact that they held our benefits and pay over us. We're saying, like, well, we don't know if you'll get the money in time to make your mortgage payment. Well, if you don't sign this, you don't have medical benefits. Because we signed under duress, it's null and void. So I can talk about it. So there. Next time, don't threaten people with the document and make them sign it. It doesn't work that way. And a lawyer told me that, so there. So I can say what I want, and I'm not naming your name. So be glad for that. But, like, it's so funny, because it's like, I didn't realize how bad it was working there till I wasn't working there, because it was one of those places that is very cult mentality, like, oh, you're part of this company, and we're a cool, hip company to work for, so everybody that works here is one of us. Like, you're part of the club. You're a cool kid. And we're like, yeah, basically. And they're like, we treat you guys so great. You got great benefits. And we're like, we got great benefits. And they're like, you got all these perks. We're like, we got all these perks. And it seems really cool. You're like, people here are nice. Everybody waves and smiles because you had to. You were told
Sounds
to.
like a horrible
They
place
were like,
to work. I would
part
never
of our
work there.
culture. Part of our culture here is you'll notice, like they would say this, you'll notice that when you walk the hallways, everyone's smiling because it's a great place to work. It's because you were told, like, if you weren't there, like, so we noticed that, like, you're not really smiling at people or waving, like, you know, that's your brand. That's your personal brand. And if you don't start acting differently, you're not going to get promoted. Like, they'd say this to people. They're like, I'm sorry, I'm shy. I don't like I don't like waving to people. They would, like, threaten people. Luckily, I'm just like, hi, how's it going? Hello. I started doing that at the job I have now, and people were like, who the fuck is this girl? Why is she so cheery all the time? She's on drugs. I was like, oh shit, people here don't do that. Luckily, I worked with a ton of people that came from the place I was at, and they were like, what do they do to you guys there? I was like, what? He's like, all of you, I've noticed this. He's like, in my department, in other departments, he's like, I've talked about this. Like, you guys all kind of seem like shell-shocked. Y'all seem like scared of your own shadow, and like, we're like, we are very scared that we are going to get fired or laid off at any moment for anything we do, including not smiling enough. And they were just like, it's not like that here. Like, he's like, it's okay. You can just like, he's like, I don't want to, he's like, I'm not trying to say anything, but like, I just want you to know it's a very comfortable place here. It's okay. Like, he kept having to tell me, like, it's okay. I was like, oh God, what? Like, every time I came over, I was like, hey, am I doing okay? Did I do this right? And he's like, you're fine. I was like, oh, okay, so I can slow down now? Okay.
But I didn't smile.
I was like, I've been drinking so many energy drinks, and I've been smiling at everyone. He's just like, Jesus Christ, what do they do to you people? He's like, it's not just you, it's like everyone that comes from there seems really brainwashed and weird.
One of our last remaining friends at that place, who just recently left, was like counting down the days until they left, and then they like threw a party when they were like, here's my 2 weeks, I am out, peace.
They threw a party for him at work, and he was 10 or 15 minutes late, and they had the party without him.
That does not surprise me at all.
So he walked in, and they were like, oh, they got you cupcakes or whatever. And he was like,
shit.
Thanks.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh, I can't handle that. I can't handle that.
I was like, Harkins, like, there have been people at my current job. Literally, I feel kind of bad because sometimes I can be a bit of a dick because it's very stressful, but I get away with it because a lot of people leave. So I'm like, I could probably light this place on fire and I won't get fired. And, but Harkins was like that, where they literally were like, here's the 5-step process. You smile, you say hi, then you take their order, then you have to upsell and
you have to wipe,
suggestive
you have
sell.
to clean the area.
And you had to clean your area. And if there was nothing to sweep while you were ushering, you had to sweep invisible popcorn. That's what they called it.
Holy.
And Karen's laughing because she worked at Harkins too.
So how was that invisible popcorn sweeping?
Well, I always had popcorn to sweep.
You were like, I'm
She
gonna
carried
throw
it in
some
her
popcorn.
pocket.
Just throw it in
Here
there.
you go. But it was a good first job. I worked there during the summer for 2 months because during the summer, I swear to shit, you could have a peg leg, no eyes, and be a creepy monster person and walk in there and they would hire you because they're so busy in the summer that I literally was like, I answered like 5 questions, like, we'd like to offer you a job, and I'm just like, okay, and like that's how, because it was so busy. But it was a good like first job because you were working with like a lot of other younger people. I felt so bad for the managers there. I mean, they all looked like they were all, like, if they weren't, they should have been on X-Lax because they just looked like they were, like, they all had unbelievable bags under their eyes, and they were so stressed. And there was nights where they had to work there till, like, 3 in the morning because they had to count, like, the tills and stuff. Like, I mean, it was insane. So it was fun working there, but I felt bad for the freaking manager.
I loved working there. I wish I had gotten to work there longer. I only worked there for like a month and a half. But it was I would have had 1, 2, maybe like 4 or 5 jobs. And it was the place where the other people that worked there were the meanest people.
Really?
They were just mean. And I was surprised that they were so
mean. Who are these
mean.
people? Give me their names.
She's
like,
gonna go do a beat down.
Like one of them, it was my like first day and I had to clean out the bathrooms, and she told me I had to empty each individual if you're a lady, you know they have the special trash can for your feminine products. She told me
The blood trash.
I had to empty each one and not take the brown bag out. So I had to take out each individual thing. And then, like, 2 days later, someone was like, just take out the brown bag. And I was like, well, somebody told me I wasn't allowed to do that. And they were like, no, that person's an idiot. Just take out the brown bag.
What
and
the
I was like,
hell?
thank you for that. And then my first day on the register, I had never operated a register in my life before. And there was supposed to be, like, a team lead standing with me and watching me. And I gave somebody wrong change. And then I was like, oh, I think he gave me a 10, but I gave him change for a 20. And so that was on him, not on me, because I'm new. And the other people that were working there, that were his friends, got mad at me for him getting in trouble because I gave somebody wrong change. And I was like, what the heck? This is insane.
True story. I hate counting change. Like, it makes me really nervous because I'm extremely bad at math. Funny story about that. My mom told me about a few months ago, like, oh yeah, it's because you're dyslexic. Hold up, what? Hi, I'm almost 30. Excuse me? She's like, oh, that's why you had so much trouble learning to read, and we had to, like, have that special teacher help you learn to read. It's because your dad was told he was probably dyslexic when we were trying to figure out why you couldn't learn to read. The, like, specialists they took me to were like, she might be dyslexic, and they just never followed up on that. And I was like, that's why, like, I have to, like, really focus on stuff. That's another thing I'm, like, terrified at work, because we have names that are super similar, and I will take an extra moment to, like, take my pencil, touch it to the screen, and be like, no, those two names are not the same. They're very similar, though. I'm like, nobody fucking told me I was dyslexic. Thanks, Mom. She's like, well, I mean, you figured it out. You learned to read. Numbers didn't work so well for you, but, like, I've tried to avoid jobs that involve me dealing with the public in general, but especially if there's, like, money involved. Like, now it's, like, to the point where I'm like, I don't care cash. I don't need that shit. I got a debit card. I got electronic payments. I can pay with my phone. I don't need to count change. I don't need that stress in my life. So, like, when people are making fun of somebody, sometimes I'll be, like, at a, you know, like, a fast food restaurant or something, and it's that thing where people are like, oh, you're trash because you work here. I'm like, fuck you! Who's gonna serve you a burger if there's nobody here? What are you gonna do then if everybody's too good to work here? But they'll say something like, you can't count change. I'll be like, I can't count change. Well, I'm a teacher, and I'm like, I love teachers, and no teacher I know would talk to somebody about like that. Like, I'm like, I know real teachers. Maybe you should leave so some of my friends can get your job, because that's ridiculous.
Yeah, teachers probably generally shouldn't point out how dumb people are.
I was like, that's not something I've heard. You're
not
probably
that you're
lying
dumb if
to
you
me.
can't count change.
No, but you know what I mean? I was like, you're probably lying. You are not a teacher, because a teacher would not treat somebody like that. You're not teaching them.
Never seen someone treat somebody like that. And we've had
I see it a lot.
Well, we've had people treat us like that in like the fields that at the places that we've worked. There was this lady that scared the shit out of me at Dunkin' Donuts because I was like, one of my first times working morning. I didn't know she was a goddamn regular. And so there was someone in front of her, and she was behind them. No, she was in front and someone was behind her, but I, out of the corner of my eye, saw that someone was making her drink already. So it's like, okay, she's a regular, they know her drink, because that's what happens when you work at these places. And so I started taking the person behind her's order, and she's like, hello, I'm standing right here, do you not see me? And I was just like,
I'm sorry, I thought they were already making your drink.
Oh my god! I was like, I think Katie's making your drink. And Katie was like, yeah, I've got your drink here, Miss J, or whatever. And I was just like, I am literally going to go puke in the bathroom. She was a very scary lady, and I was just like, oh my god.
No, okay, now, okay, I feel really bad. I don't think people who can't count change are dumb.
Oh, jeez.
I'm learning.
I feel so terrible. I did not take it that way. I was like, why does she keep apologizing?
No, but
What
also,
did she say?
I don't think teachers should be mean to people. There you go.
Yes, and they also should not be mean to dumb people. Two separate statements. There you go.
Yes. That's what I thought you said in the first place.
Well, working at Harkins was good because you got to, like, when you were sweeping up the fake popcorn, or whatever, you were done cleaning a movie theater, you could kind of sneak into, like, other movie theaters and watch parts of the movie.
That's so funny. You're like, I'm just checking to make sure no one's having sex in here. Actually, I'm watching a movie.
We did find a couple of used condoms, but the gross. So all of the places I've worked, The trashes at Harkins smelled like the worst thing I've ever smelled in my
That's
entire
weird. What are they putting in their popcorn?
life.
Now I want to know.
Popcorn, soda, nachos, hot dogs. Who would have thought that all of that mixed together literally smells like death? But it was the most disgusting.
That's crazy. Now, I'm really curious. I'm like, there's a preservative
And I've
in
had,
there.
and
There's
we
something.
had grease traps at Dung. Remember how bad those smelled? The grease traps.
Yes,
at Dung.
Josh used to have to clean grease traps out. He would talk about that.
And the trashes at Harkins were even worse than that. They were so gross.
Yeah, he had to clean the grease traps out after somebody hadn't been doing it right for a while. He's like, you've not been cleaning these, and he almost threw
have to
up.
clean the grease? We had someone come
He had to do everything.
Yes,
But
he
I
had
mean,
to.
We had a company come in and clean our. I'm pretty sure it's a hazmat
Yes.
situation.
He had to. Sometimes they would send him to get light bulbs and like get up on a ladder and replace the light bulb, and it would be like the biggest issue. I'm like, one fucking light bulb is out. You can still see. They were like, but it doesn't look right, and they would send him on his day off to go get a light bulb.
Josh would do anything that anybody.
Well, that was the
job
problem.
asked
Was
him to
he was so afraid, and I'm like, you work at a restaurant that's a fast casual restaurant. Like, if you get fired, I guarantee you can find another place to work in a minute.
do. Yeah.
And that's the thing is, like, I don't want to say, like, well, that's how I am, because I'm not that, like, that now, but it's, like, now that I've had the experience of being laid off, and now that almost every single day I have a recruiter calling me trying to get me to work somewhere, I'm like, oh, like, I already have a job, so I'm like, it's not that scary.
Mhm.
Like, you don't have to take, and that's the thing, some people are like, no, you don't understand, and I get it. It's like, you don't want to lose your house, you don't want to lose, but it's like,
Well, and they're thinking about 8 years ago, 10 years ago, or whatever, the recession.
yeah, well, and I understand, like, some people have to care for their families, they have to care for stuff like that. They're like, I don't want to lose my house, but, like, you don't have to take shit. Like, there's some things where you can be like, I'm not comfortable doing that. You're putting me in a position I don't think is right. Like, I don't believe that's something that I need to be taking care of. You can say stuff. It's like,
His boss could say, go bury this dead body, and he would do it.
probably be like, well, I don't want to lose my job, so all right. I guess that's what I gotta do now. He is not like that anymore. He's taking a page out of my book, maybe a little
That's
too
good.
much. But, like, whoa, hold up.
That's good.
It's pretty funny, though. I forgot what I was gonna say.
Oh, no.
Kara's got some
Kara, you
parking
got some stories.
that she hasn't told.
Have you ever been, do you feel like you've ever been harassed in the workplace, Kara?
Personally, no. I'm pretty cool.
No.
Pretty cool.
I don't know. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like when people look at me, they are like, I can't harass that person.
I don't know. I think sometimes,
Mostly because she's a little nice.
She just-
well, I think people don't always, like, you don't always know when someone's being creepy. I've been like, Kara, that guy's been creepy. You're like, oh, that's nice.
True. Oh, actually,
Yes.
aha! I also volunteer/work for Comic-Con.
Yes.
And there was I
That's
met
Phoenix Comic Con, which is now called,
Phoenix
Phoenix
fan.
what?
Phoenix Fan Convention.
Something like that.
What? They changed the
They changed the name,
Yeah.
yes. It's not.
There's a whole big thing with San Diego Comic-Con suing
Weird.
people.
Yeah, it was mentioned on my last episode
Yeah.
with Liz and Prue.
Are you serious? Because Comic-Con is trademarked?
Yes.
They said that they owned Comic-Con, yes.
Wow, that's amazing. That's crazy.
Anywho. So I volunteer/work there. I think it was my first year. I met a person who I didn't know because it was my first year. Maybe it was my second year. It doesn't matter. I still didn't know who it was. But had a reputation for being kind of skeevy.
Oh,
And I
they
was
were like
just-
the one people warn you about, but nobody warned you.
Yeah. So I was like, la 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 la, and he's just very friendly. And I was like, oh, we are friends. You know, he's chatty. We'll talk to each other, la la la. And then, and I was like, okay, so I guess we're kind of like becoming friends. And then he gave me a hug goodbye. And so we hugged, and I was like, and then afterwards we had like a smaller meeting with like the managers or whatever, and he wasn't there, and they were like, all right, he's like, you, Kara, never be alone with that person ever again. And I was like, what? He was just being
Oh
friendly.
my
And I was
gosh.
like, I don't understand. He was like, the look on his face when he hugged you, you walk with me every day. You never are by yourself when that guy is around.
Oh,
And I was like, whoa. And I was wearing my green Harry Potter shirt from Bookman's, which was awesome. And the
Wait,
next...
you have one too?
Yeah.
You both wore it on the same time, I believe.
And then the next meeting we had, he wore his green Harry Potter shirt from Bookman's and was like, ha, same shirt. And I was like, okay, that's fun. And then,
Oh, no.
And then we just didn't kind of, I think my manager was like, you need to stay the
like,
fuck
I'm
away
gonna-
from
yeah.
her. And then I just didn't talk to him again. And I was like, well, that's nice.
But they let him keep working there while volunteering.
No, he did eventually get fired.
But that's the thing is, it's
Fire.
like, sometimes it's like, how many times do you have to be complained about before? Because there were people that I worked with that it was like woman after woman after woman was like claimed stuff, said stuff, had proof of stuff, and this person would continue to be allowed to work there. I had a situation where it was like, because this person was being creepy to me, the stalker guy, I warned somebody else, and she's like, he started doing that to me, like, he was being nice to me, like, she's like, no, I'm just be like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, like, every time she's like, I don't have fucking time to talk to you. Luckily, she was planning on leaving anyways, and so she left, but after she left, and this was why I was so scared to be, like, mean to this guy, and this was what was so fucked up about it, after she left, when she had interviewed, they had asked her, like, questions, you know, about where she worked before, how long she had worked at that place. They never once asked her how long she'd held her last role, which was the role they were hiring her for. I believe maybe like the job description said they wanted people with like 2 years of experience or something, but like to her, they never specifically were like, hey, how long have you worked? So she never was like, by the way, let me tell you how long I held each position at this. You know, you don't think about it. She got hired, was doing a great job, and then he felt the need to contact somebody she worked with and be like, oh, how long did she say she worked here? They're like, oh, like 3 years. He's like, no, she's lying. She didn't work in this department for 3 years. And she's like, I told her this. I'm like, just so you know, this is coming down. This is coming your way. She's like, hold the phone. I never said I worked in this position for 3 years. That's how long I've worked at the company. It might have even been like 4 or 5 years. She's like,
they weren't allowed to ask questions like
they're not.
that.
They're
Because
only
this
allowed
was
to ask
just
Yes
if
or
you would
no.
rehire them.
Yeah.
well, they're allowed to ask you in the interview, but they failed to do that. That was not her fault. You're not just supposed to randomly volunteer whatever information you think they might possibly need. You're not just supposed to be like, oh, here's how many times I've done this. Oh, wait, I've done this many times. Like, that's not how it works. And she was doing great, and her immediate supervisor luckily was like, this is not a fucking issue. Like, she didn't lie. Like, they were like, she lied in her interview. She's like, no, we never asked her that question. Should she have told us how long? Maybe, like, you know, whatever. But, like, she's doing fine. She's doing a good job. This is not an issue. This does not need to be an issue. But because of that, it was just like, I was like, I can't fucking mess with this guy, because if I go to work somewhere else, before I got laid off, I was still trying to find somewhere else because they were severely underpaying us. But it was like, he knows people that have left that were older women that he didn't seem interested in. It was only the younger ones. So the older ones he was nice to. Those ones he would talk to regularly and try to fuck up stuff for people that he didn't like. And it was just like, oh, great. This is how it's going to go. Awesome.
You work in an insane
Terrible.
place. My place, it feels like it's impossible for them to fire somebody. I mean, we have people that didn't do their job for 6 months and they quit. They didn't get fired because it just seems like it's freaking impossible for them to fire somebody.
so
hearing these stories, I'm just like, what?
It's crazy because it's like, I was like, no, it's a great place to work. It's a great place to work because I love the company. Like, I use the company's products still, and I still will. It was very funny because people would ask me that. They're like, oh, so the products are good then? Because, like, if they did that all that stuff to you, you wouldn't, like, you know, if you're still using them. I'm like, no. Like, it's a good company. It's just, I can't, it's like so hard to be like, well, I can't say I wouldn't suggest somebody to work there, because it's like, if you have the right department and the right supervisor, you're gonna have a great time. You're gonna have a fantastic time. It's give and take. Like, I had a friend who has been working, it's a 4-10 schedule, which I worked a 4-10 schedule and I loved it. It's 4 10-hour days, but he would work Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then be off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Which sucks because he would work every Saturday or Sunday. So if any event was going on, he'd have to request the day off, all this stuff. He worked that schedule for 4 years and would be like, hey, can I please just have one weekend day off? Like, can I just have one? And they would jerk him around about it. But then in other ways, like, he would get rewards that he'd get paid for. They'd be like, we awarded you this, and you get an extra bonus. He'd get good bonuses. He had the opportunity to go to India. Unfortunately, he didn't have a passport, so they were like, oh, sorry, we're putting people's names down now because we have to get it cleared now, so, like, you can't go. But he would have had that opportunity. So it's, like, so weird. It's like, in some ways, you have, like, crazy opportunities, but then in others, are like, you could work Saturday, Sunday for 4 years in a row. We don't care. It's just like, how the hell? No, it's not okay.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's like, I was like, by then I think I'd have lost my mind and been like, I can't do this. But not everyone is like me. I don't know. It's like, I guess I was like, I'm willing to put up with a lot more than I thought I would be. Like, after you've been working somewhere for so long, you're like, but we have such a great community, and it's like, no, you don't.
And it's because you're like, oh, I've been there for this amount of years, and then I go somewhere else, and I'm at the bottom again. Even though you're like, well, it kind of sucks here, but if I go somewhere else, I'm at the bottom of the
That's
the
what I was
ladder
afraid
again.
of, because a lot of the places when I was looking before I got laid off weren't immediately looking to hire people, so I was just like, oh, I'm gonna be screwed. But then there was another influx of like crazy hiring, and now that's like an industry that's hiring a lot, so it's like, oh, whew, actually it's fine. I didn't have to start from the bottom again. I know some people that unfortunately they did because they were scared, and they just took whatever like came their way. They didn't want the money to run out. They were scared about it. But like after being in that situation, I feel more comfortable, like, okay, if I get laid off, if I get fired, I've never been fired before, so it's like, oh, it's not the end of the world. And it's like, sometimes I think people take their jobs so seriously, you have to look at the fun. Like, I sit next to this lady at work, and she once cornered me in the bathroom and asked if I was a Satanist. And I was just like, what? No. It's like, I'm pagan. She's like, so is that like Wiccan? I was like, no, it's like non-denominational. And she's like, so it's like Satanism. And I was like, no, again, no. But she's the sweetest lady. She's just so weird, because she'll do this thing where like she would her team is not in that building. So when there was just a few people on my team in the mornings, she'll have conversations on speakerphone at her desk, like on her cell phone. It's like personal conversations. And one of the people I work with, it drives him crazy. And I'm just like, yeah, but she's really nice. She's super nice. But all day long, she talks on her Bluetooth earpiece to people, but she mumbles because she knows she's not really like, it's not like it's one of those places where they expect you to be an adult, so they don't have like a list of like, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, because they don't expect you to take a call constantly at your desk. Like, you can give out your number. People use their desk phone to call their husbands and their wives and be like, hey, I'm running late, or I'm on the way home, do you want me to pick up groceries? And I thought that was so weird, because like where I worked before, it was like, if you even accidentally pull your cell phone out, we're gonna slap it out of your hand and write you up and maybe fire you. But like, she will randomly start praying. Like, it's so weird. I think she's watching like YouTube videos on her phone that are like preachers. All of a sudden it'll like startle me. It'll be like dead quiet, and I'll have like a podcast on, and it'll like end, or there'll be like a gap in songs, and she'll be like, hallelujah, that's right, praise Jesus. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And then everybody just like jumps on my team, because we're all like kind of quiet. We do our jobs. We're here to get our shit done and work. And she's just like, that's right, Jesus. And we're like, is Jesus talking to you? What is he saying? And she always tells me, she's like, this lady was mean to me, so I was like, Jesus, give her a headache. And guess what? She had a headache. I'm like, honey, I don't think that's how Jesus works. I think that's the wrong. You're confused. But it is so funny, because she's super nice, but she's also.
She'll go up there and say, that's not Jesus.
Oh, she would.
That's Satan.
That's Satan, ma'am. She will just praise the Lord all day long and tell you about her conspiracy theories, which are fantastic. They're just, woo! I can't. Like, there was one time where I think I just went, no, that's okay. And I just turned back around and started working, because it was like that over the top that I just made noises at her and kept working, because I was like, I can't even, there's nothing I can say right now, because it's just like so insane that you don't want to be like, that's a lot of bullshit, man. But like, so I'm just like, I'm just trying to do my job.
At least she knows what Wiccan is. Like, she's trying. She's like, oh, is that like those Wiccans?
No, which are probably also Satanists in her mind. She's like, it's very
That's
funny.
like the umbrella.
Like, somebody sneezes and she's like, bless you, but like she's like blessing you, and you're like, okay.
She doesn't want their soul
Alright.
to escape. That's
like,
why.
you're sick. She's like, I'll pray for you, and you're like, thanks. Please don't. Because apparently you make people have pain. That's how your Jesus works. I don't know about this. Oh, it's so funny.
You're like, so if you're praying for me, is it like, don't give her a headache?
Yes, like, take her headache and give it to somebody that pissed her off today. Like, that's how she thinks Jesus works. And I just think it's so funny. I don't know what religion she is, but like, it's just crazy.
That's crazy.
Do we have any other stories we want to slip in here before we
Got a whole
go?
list of stories.
Come on, Carrie, you're so quiet over there. We're gonna peer pressure you into telling us some things.
Yeah, I know, but it's not natural now. Like, we've been having a conversation, and I'm just like, here's
Harkins,
the story.
You know, I edit things. I can
Oh, that's
cut and
true.
paste. But I'll leave this in. I'm gonna spoil the magic and tell them about how I cut and paste.
Don't tell them about how I accidentally spilled a lot of water on your
That's okay. I
Sorry.
repeatedly punch the table when I get excited in every podcast I'm in, whether I'm a guest or like an actual host. It's pretty bad.
Also, I've spilled nail polish on their couch
She,
before.
even funnier, it was new, and she felt so bad, and I was not mad at all because she got most of it off.
You probably turned around and sold it.
I did.
Weekend.
No, I
This is
sold
what
it.
You did.
I did. I sold it. I actually didn't sell it till we moved to this house because it was a pull-out couch bed. I felt so bad that she felt bad. Like, that's how Kara is. If you don't know Kara, she spilled nail polish on my couch, and I felt bad. I was like, Kara's
This
sad.
is why people don't inherit her.
Okay, that's a good
It was
segue.
very funny. You were so sad, and I was like, she didn't mean to.
The most harassed I've been at a place was at Dunkin' Donuts. In the afternoon shift, it's only 2 people working. So it was me and Jana was in the back, like, doing whatever.
And I harassed her.
Her team lead stuff, and I was a measly team member, so I was in the front. And this guy
Counting
came
the
in.
frozen egg patties.
Oh, don't give away the mystery. Guess what's in your egg sandwich?
Don't worry, I used gloves.
And this guy and his friend came in, and they were nice, and we were kind of like joking around, and they were picking out a dozen donuts, and then I gave it to them, and back to the original counterfeit situation, he tried to pay with 100, and I was like, oh, I'm very sorry, but we don't take hundreds, and he was like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, and he was like, this is legal tender, you have to take this, and I was like, I'm sorry, we don't accept 50s
We
or
don't
100s.
take them, yeah.
And
If
he
we
was
don't
like,
take them, we don't take them.
and he was like, well, this is all I have, and I was like, I'm sorry, but I can't take that.
You're like, don't you have a debit card, sir? Do you know what year this is? Like, credit, debit? What you got?
He had in his hand a giant wad of $1 bills. It was like, I know you people listening can't see it, but I'm making
Making a hamburger-sized hand.
Yes.
He was taking those donuts to the strip club.
And he got so mad. And he was like, what if I took a bite out of this donut? Then would you accept my money? I was like, no, that wouldn't change the situation. And he was yelling at me about not taking money and how it was bullshit and how this was money. You should take this.
That's when I get combative.
And
Which
I was
is
just
why
like,
I can't
I'm
work with the
sorry.
public.
And I'm sorry, I can't do it. And then his friend was like, just standing there. And then he left. The friend left, and this guy was still just yelling at me. And the friend came back in with the 20. And I took the 20. And then about this time, Janet comes out, and she's like, excuse me, what's going on? And I was like, reinforcements have arrived.
Like, supervisor.
And I was like, try to pay with this. I told him we didn't take it. And she was like, and then they were like, this is bullshit. And then they left. And then she yelled after them. She was like, it's not our policy. It's the store's policy.
I'm pretty sure I was like, you're bullshit or something too, but he's not. People complain about, like, call centers and stuff like that, and I'm like, why is it so bad? And they're like, well, you're just getting, like, yelled at the whole time, and I work in insurance, so people say that's what the claims is the call center of insurance.
You get screamed at a
And
lot.
I'm like, that doesn't sound that bad at all. Like, it's not your fault, so just sit there and, like, sit quietly, and for 25 minutes I get paid to get yelled at? Like, I would do that in a heartbeat.
When I finally realized, like, oh, I'm not dying, I would just sit there and color and be like, yep.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly.
I am fat. You're right. I'm very overweight. I'm eating a donut right now. I would tell people, I'd be like, actually, you're paying me to sit here and have an energy drink, and I'm coloring in a colored book.
Yes, I worked at a place that did online billing for porn sites.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, they made I didn't work in anything like that. But the best part was...
You're telling us you weren't in the porn,
I worked in the software testing place, but because we worked for porn sites, there was no such thing as not safe for work.
Oh, well, there you go.
When we got on Reddit, like, there were dicks on people's screens all the time. People loved sending people that goatsy thing or whatever the hell, meat spin, stuff like that. So, so the call centers there would be people calling saying, like, I didn't charge this, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, well, it says here's like a David Smith or whatever. That's my husband. And
oh,
it's like,
snap.
I don't care. You still have to pay. Or like yelling at their kids, like, I can't believe you fucking did this. And I'm like,
That's so funny.
Like, the best. Like, you have just tons of stories all the time.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
That's what I miss. Like, I work in corporate America in this office job, and I make really good money, and I like it, and I love the people I work with, but it's like, there's no fucking stories, because I'm like talking to people, I'm like, oh my god, so this person was like, what's this number here, is that the limit? And I was like, what are you kidding me? And they're like,
I thought I would really miss that when I stopped talking to people, but I do enough weird shit on my own, like color my underwear with Sharpie, that it's like I still have so many stories that I have created, so I don't miss it. But like, we would have people that would be like, no, I'm doing this for Satan. Let me tell you, I'm a demon. Like, I sat next to a girl that she was like so into this story. She's like, I've been on this call for so long, but I don't care. I have to hear how it ends. He's the son of Satan. He's trying to save the world. She's like, this is getting good. And I was like,
oh my God. On the phone with her?
Because they needed their money unlimited so that they could use it to help in the fight against their... No, it was against Satan, because they were the son of Satan, but they were like, I ain't about that. It was so funny. She was like muting and like giving me an update. She's like, so now here's what's happening. I was like, tell me more. I was just like, you would get the craziest of people. I do miss that sometimes, like the crazy shit people would come up with, and you're just like, I wish some weird shit like that would happen, but I am far less stressed out without that.
Well,
so.
My job is so stressful that I don't even like thinking about it really, or talking about it when I get home. So.
Well, it's funny because the last place I worked, I was doing something a little different than what I'm doing now, same vein, but we'd have to investigate activity that was suspicious and reportable to the government, and some of it included some shit that it's like, we should not have been seeing, especially for what we were getting paid. Because when I would go to other companies and they'd be like, well, what did you have to do? I'd be like, oh, we'd have to work on like child exploitation, child pornography, human trafficking. They were like, whoa, they're making you guys do that? We're like, yeah. Like, here we have like specialists that get paid a lot more, and they're like off somewhere. And like, I was like, no, I had a friend who started watching a video and was like, oh, right away, I can tell this girl is definitely underage, very young child, and bad things are about to happen to her. And she was like, I'm going to file on this. And keep in mind, to file, you have to have the suspicion that something is happening. So sometimes we don't even have a video. We don't have a website. It's just you can tell by what's happening transactionally. And you're like, I have a suspicion. That's all this report is. All it is used for is government agencies can look it up and go, oh, somebody else had a suspicion about this person, so we're probably on the right track. It was just like a clue for them, basically. In fact, it's what's happening right now with Donald Trump, with all the Russian stuff, is what the kind of reports I used to file. So it's that thing where they don't mean anything until something happens. But one of her supervisors was like, you have to watch that. She's like, okay, I'll skim through it. They're like, no, you have to watch it. She's like, I don't have to watch this whole thing to know what's happening. She's like, I can scroll through it and see bad things happening to a child. It's like, well, you need to make sure that that's actually a child. And he was kind of getting on her, made her watch this whole film.
Yeah.
Most of the time, you would start watching it, we'd be like, oh, look, bad things happening to a child. I'm going to go ahead and file on that. Or we'd be like, oh, look, this person is underage on this website. I'm going to file on that. And you would see a lot of stuff that you were just like, oh, I can't unsee that. But the fact that, like, he was, like, forcing her, that was one of the last straws. She was like, I'm leaving this company. And it's just crazy because it's like, oh, this is what we do. We investigate this kind of stuff. And then it's like everywhere else, like, people I know, because the company-wide laid off, like, 160 people. We went to a lot of different places, and they're like, they don't make us do that at any of these places. Like, first off, they don't see as much of it because it's not, like, as online as this company was. But also, it's like, that's not something we have to deal with. It's just crazy. They're, like, making lay people essentially, like, the, you know, bottom of the barrel of this particular industry, which is, like, it's a type of financial fraud, but it's a little more involved than that. So you have, like, a little bit more training and stuff, but you're not getting paid to look at that. Like, you shouldn't be having to do that. And they're just like, yes, watch that video. And I'm going to stand here and make sure you watch that video. I was like, that's some weird shit.
I would never watch that video. That's horrible.
We would have people, and then she overheard somebody too from a different department that had been newly hired. Like, oh yeah, because we were talking about they wanted us in a separate area so other people wouldn't have to see what we had to see, or putting up signs like, do not look at the monitors because you can't unsee it. Like, they're like, how do we make that concise and put it on a sign? So they were telling other supervisors, like, don't bring your people around here unless they work here in this department. But she overheard people like, oh yeah, sometimes they'd watch child porn and stuff. Like, I want to see that. And we were like, I was like, report them. Where can we report them? Yeah. She's like, there's like, you can't report somebody for being a creep. Like, that's not against the law for saying that. It's only against the law if they're like downloading it themselves and, you know,
and
like,
even then you have to have like millions and thousands of files for them to even care.
It was crazy. And she was just like, why is that person allowed to work here? Like, she would complain and they were just like, oh, you must have misunderstood. She's like, no, they were talking about how great it would be to see like beheading videos or to see child porn like we sometimes run across, and it's not.
You can look up beheading videos.
Well, but like we would come across them, and they were like, that's so cool that you get to see that at work. Like, you could tell when somebody was working a child exploitation case, because we'd be like, hi, you know, joking around, and then all of a sudden they'd be like, and they'd get really sad, and you were like, are you working a CPC? Yeah. Yep. We're like, are they really young? My daughter's age. And we'd be like, do you want me to work it for you? I don't have kids. Like, I would always be like, I don't have any kids. Like, I'll work it for you. You don't have to. Like, it was sad. And it was just like, ugh, the kind of stuff.
Ugh,
like, it's
awful.
like, it's kind of like taking advantage of people. It's like, yeah, they told you, like, you're enough to see this kind of stuff. But then to be like, if you want this experience, if you want, you know, to be in this position and get this experience and get this pay, you're going to have to deal with some stuff. And it's like, okay.
Oh my god.
Maybe not the best. Not the best place to work. So that's why it's like when I say it's like some departments were fantastic, other departments I was like, would not recommend. Would not recommend.
I would never work in that department. Something like this makes me feel a little bit better about my job. But I feel like my job's
not so bad. I love my current job so much. This is how it's supposed to be. Like, all of us that came from this place are just like, oh, it's like, oh my god, we don't have to like view terrible things. Nobody's screaming at us for something we didn't do or have any connection with. Like, you're not in trouble for stuff. It's just like, you're like, oh, hey, no one showed me how to do this. I'm not sure how to do it. They're like, oh my gosh, let me help you, instead of like, well, can't you figure it out on your own? Like, what do you mean nobody showed you how to do this? Shouldn't you know? And it's like, no, I'm sorry. I don't know. Crazy stuff.
Yeah,
like, even when you make a mistake where I work now, they're just like, well, you didn't do it quite right. Like, we can fix it. He's like, nothing's that big of a deal, but like, yeah, you did it wrong. And I'm just like,
yeah,
expecting the axe.
We all worked in fields that were like super important, and like legal things could go wrong, and you're like, oh my god, like I literally just fucked up someone's life forever, or whatever. No. Or I just got in trouble legally. But it's like, the place I work, luckily, there's not really much that can go wrong that can't be undone, even if it takes like a superior like stepping in and being like, no, we're gonna need you to do this for us.
Yeah, they're like, you need to take over.
Yeah, you
need to assist. How do you feel where you work now, Carrie? I think you do legal stuff.
I like it.
You like it?
I work in a law firm.
Do you find it less stressful than other jobs?
It is maybe the least stressed I've ever been.
Isn't that funny? It's like the more fancy and important your job is, sometimes you're like, this is going to be high stress. I have to dress up.
She
I have
does
to
have
be
a fancy
professional.
job. She is the assistant to the records clerk.
I work in the records department, so we don't, there's always stuff to do, but it's not exciting. And it's very low stress. There's no time crunches on anything. We're just like, la 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 la.
So even when I have a time crunch at this job, they're like, we got to get this done. And everybody's like, let's work together. And we all do. And then we're like, we got it done. And they're like, thanks, guys. Thanks, team, for helping us out. You're doing a really good job. And I'm like, this is like to be appreciated. It's just like crazy.
Well, and it's just me and one other person, and that person I've known for 16 years. He's basically
that's right.
like
yeah,
a
you
member
are
of my
working with somebody
family.
you know now.
So we're just like chatting all day,
That's
Listening
so
to
funny.
music.
eating snacks.
I think the common denominator we've all had is when we were working less important roles at certain
Yes.
places, it's you're more stressed out, you're harassed more, and it's just funny because it's I think sometimes people are held back from doing something because they're I don't know if I'm qualified for that. I don't know if I can do it. Take the chance. It may not be as stressful as you think, and it's not the end of the world to take a leap of faith and find a job that may be something you didn't think about before.
Yeah, and people are so afraid of switching jobs or moving up or whatever, and it's the position below mine is the worst job in the office. It is the worst job in the office. It's the most stressful job in the office. You have the most work. All of them are important, but technically what they do isn't seen as selling, or whatever. So they have a lot more that they do because it's seen as servicing. And it's one of the gals that I work with recently got promoted to my position just on a different team. And she was like, I don't know. She's this quietest, shyest goddamn person in the entire world. And she's so sweet. And she's like, I just don't know. I'm like, no, literally, this
do
is
it.
the best job in the office. It's super stressful for me right now because I'm doing 4 people's jobs because a bunch of people left. But she's taking one of the place of them. So she's taking work off my desk. This other person's taking work off my desk. And then I'll just be doing 2 jobs. But I'm it seems super stressful and crazy right now because I'm doing the job of 4 people. But it's literally...
You're not going to be doing 4 people's job. You'll be fine, yeah.
You'll be fine. It's literally the best, easiest job in the office. And so she said that, she's now I'm, excited to come into work and stuff like that. So... yes, just move up, people.
Move up, take a chance. Don't take shit from people. Don't allow sexual harassment.
Being fired.
If you see something, say something.
Someone
Constant vigilance.
Someone at my work was recently go to, and she's really good friends with him, and he was honestly, it was he felt relieved. And I'm like, yeah, if your job is so stressful and it's killing you and stuff like that, being fired or let go maybe isn't the worst thing in the entire world. It's a breakup.
I've not really had to take as many sick days as I used to with as many medical issues as I have had. I'm just why do I feel so much better not working in a terrible place?
I do want to say one thing that's very, very important. At my last job, you were not allowed to eat snacks at your desk.
Terrible.
You were not allowed to eat at your
Terrible.
desk. And at this job, all the eating you ever could want. And it is much better.
Eating is important.
Your
I often eat at my desk.
coworker/boss only eats at his desk.
And it is a happy,
That's
happy day.
all I ever do. I only take my lunches at my desk because in my hour-long lunch, I walk.
Yeah, well,
I walk my whole hour
I take
on the
my
Tempe
lunch
Beach
at
Park,
my
the
desk.
beautiful beach park.
Oh, that's where you work. That's right. I take my lunch at my desk, and then I get to leave an hour early.
Yeah. A lot of people can do that too. I could leave half an hour early, but I'm like, I need that break.
If they were you can't eat at your desk anymore, I would say, see ya.
I would just eat out of my drawer like I used to at the last place I worked. I would have my full meal in my drawer. I would open it, take a few bites, close the drawer. Everyone knew I did it, and everyone just pretended they didn't know. You got me, guys. I love you.
I ate at my desk all the time. And I would always get caught by, the last position I held was a supervisory one, and everybody would come to ask me a question, and I'd be like, you didn't see this. Just ignore what's happening here. I don't think anybody ever tattled on me. I appreciate it. But I ate all the time because that's such a dumb dumb rule.
Well, and for some people, like, I know people with diabetes, sometimes they have to eat when they take their medicine. I have to eat after a certain amount of time I've taken my medicine. I have to walk by doctor's orders on my breaks. If I eat on my break, I have less time to walk. Plus, if I eat and then walk, I will throw up, so it's not great. So I'm like, I have to eat before my break with enough time so that I can walk to help digest my food and get my exercise in, because if I eat and sit, I will also get sick. It's just like, lots of things are wrong with me. So it's like, I love being able to just be like, I can eat my meal here. No one's freaking out because everybody else is eating their meals here. Nobody's like, your food is bothering me with its smell. That was the big thing where I worked. People like, I can't, the smell. And I'm just like, you don't fucking eat food? Do you not eat food? Food has smells. Get over it. Like, do you not eat downstairs where the food is? Because you can fucking smell the food down there too. What is wrong with you?
The only time I've ever been called out was when I ate sardines at my desk.
I would call you
I'd
out
call
for
you
that. I'd be like, what? But like, people eat stinky fish, and I'm just like, someone's eating stinky fish. And we're like,
yeah,
you're eating stinky fish, and then people move on with it. We're like, why are you eating stinky
It
fish?
wouldn't be that's gross, I'm complaining. It'd be like, why the hell are you eating sardines out of a can?
People just be like, what the fuck's wrong with you? And then move on. Oh, it's
Yeah,
so
I get
funny.
made fun of for my food choices at work sometimes. But this chick was crazy. She complained about the sardines. Fine, I'll let you have that one. She complained about my lotion because she was like, oh, I'm sorry, it's exacerbating like my asthma. And I was like, this bitch pine solves people when they're sick, and my lotion is exacerbating her asthma. Bullshit.
I had somebody where I worked that kept sending out an email saying that somebody couldn't handle smells, which I know can be true because I have mast cell activation disorder, so technically any lotion or cologne can set me off at any time. But if it does, I would just move. Like, I'd be like, I need to switch seats because she wears perfume that I'm not going to make her stop wearing, because that's like
insane. That's
telling somebody
psycho
not to wear their makeup. Like, oh, your makeup is offending me. It's like, I understand, like, medically, it could actually cause me to go into anaphylaxis and die because I cannot have an EpiPen, but I'm still not going to make somebody change their life for me because it's like, I'm the one with the medical issue that's like, I understand how it's like there's peanut-free flights and stuff, but it's not every flight. Like, if you have a peanut allergy, you have to be the person that's like, I have a peanut allergy, and it sucks, but at the same time, it's like, I know I can't be like, especially with me, it's like, I don't know what sense. It's random. Like, your lotion someday could never bother me, and then one day I'm like, I suddenly can't breathe. It's like, that's why there's disability. That's why there's jobs where you work from home, and it's like, that's why I'm working at a job that hopefully someday I'll have the option to work partially from home, so that it's like, if I feel sick, I don't have to be like, everybody else in this entire building needs to change for me. Mm-hmm. It's like, there's accommodating somebody, and then there's somebody that's like, especially too when I know it's like, you don't have a medical condition that causes it.
If you just ask the person and say, hey, I'm really sorry, but that perfume you're wearing kind of bothers me. Like, do you have another one?
Well, that'd be like if I sat next to somebody that said I have a peanut allergy, I'd be like, if I eat peanuts downstairs and come up, is it gonna trigger you? And if they're like, no, that's fine, I'd be like, okay.
She sent an email to HR and like CC'd me on it. I was like, I'm very sorry for this email, but your lotion is, and I'm like
calm
just
down.
Send it to me.
Like, I'm gonna put this lotion on your face.
That's the worst when somebody's like sending you an email, but then like CC's your supervisors, and they're like, you did this thing wrong, and you're like, why couldn't you just tell me I made a mistake instead of CCing every supervisor that I ever had?
The only
first time I did that.
If I think that it is a training issue, like, they told me that this person told them this. Is this correct? Because if not, you might want to clarify with people.
You're like, can we have some clarification on that?
Mm-hmm.
That'll be like, I'll hear something from everybody I work with. Like, I think we do this because stuff changes so much where I work. And I'll be like, okay, well, I'm going to be the person that asks the supervisor. I'm like, sorry to bother you. I know you're super busy. Is this right? And he'll be like, no. I'm like, okay, what's right? He's like, this. And I'm like, all right, guys, per him right now, this is the what we're supposed to do. And I'm just like, I know a lot of the people I work with do that, but it's like, I wish people would be more willing to do that. Like, I just made a mistake and learned from it. Like, I have no problem being like, guys, I just screwed up. Do not screw up in this manner ever.
That's one of the places that I've worked previously, was for some reason very against people asking like simple questions. Like questions that they could quote unquote know, they should know the answer
or they should
to.
be able to look it up. Yeah,
and
I worked
was
somewhere like that.
It takes 10 seconds to ask me a question, and if I know the answer,
Especially if it's like
to tell
yes or
you.
no, is this right?
Hey, this, yes. Hey, this, no. Hey, this, I have no idea. Go ask somebody else. That's so fast. I have no
Doesn't
problem
take
with
any
that.
time out of your day.
I
no.
prefer that so much more to them not knowing and doing it wrong, not knowing, trying to look it up, wasting 20 minutes trying to find the answer. And, like, questions are the best. Ask all the questions in the world.
Teamwork makes the dream work. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Do you have any social media or any projects, anything you want to plug? Kara, you do some stuff. Do you want to plug it?
I do. I am actually in a podcast.
She is.
Besides this one. It's not, the one that I'm in is the Swashbuckling Ladies Debate Society.
The Swashbuckling Ladies Debate Society.
Yes, but it's called, it's like part of a big thing. It's called Monday Matinee, and they do different stories every time.
Okay, where can they find Monday Matinee?
I believe it's on iTunes. I have it on my podcast app that I'm in love with. It's called Podcast Addict.
So if it's on Podcast Addict, it's probably on iTunes. You can probably find it on any podcasting app that you can use. Do they have like a website or anything, a Facebook page that people should check out?
I don't think that they do. They might have a Facebook page.
So just Google it, search it in your iTuneses. You should find
Monday Matinee.
What about you, Jana? Got anything? You want people to follow you on your Instagram or your Twitter?
The extent of my social media is saying every day, I'm going to delete my Facebook.
That's true.
So she would like you to follow this podcast.
She would like you to follow her on nothing.
Yes,
Instead,
follow A Shilling for Your Thoughts.
And Campfire Curmudgeon.
That's right, if you want to check out my
and
other
the ones
podcast.
That Kara said.
Papa
wait.
Oh.
Doesn't Cody have some? Oh, I don't remember what they're called.
Do you know where he can be found?
No.
No.
Find Cody.
Next time.
If you want to plug it, you can send me his stuff and we'll tell people to check that out. But thank you for listening to A Shilling for Your Thoughts, a Papago Podcast Network podcast. You can find us on papagopodcastnetwork.com, ashillingforyourthoughts.com. You can also find both of those on Facebook. Please like our page, give us feedback. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.